Hello there and welcome to 3Spoonies. We're your hosts, Karen, Jo and Claire. This is episode number 50 and we're discussing representation in print media. Join us as we dive in.
Whether you're thinking about writing a book, are writing a book, or have written a book, Green Cat Books are here to make the process easier. As fellow Spoonies, we know how important it is to rest and relax and take time for yourself. That's why we offer beginning-to-end publishing services, including proofreading, formatting, and distribution, giving you the chance to heal. greencatbooks.com. Create your legacy.
Hello, I'm Karen from Pony Pony Pony.
And I'm Jo from Bright Cat Business Solutions.
And I'm Claire from Black Veil Stationery.
And together we're 3Spoonies navigating our way through life and business with not enough spoons. This week we are going to be talking about representation in print media. So we are joined by the lovely Maddy and Victoria Jane. Hello. Would you like to tell us a little bit about you and what you do? We'll go Maddy first.
Very much for having me. So I'm Maddy Alexander-Grout, and I am a disability advocate. I am a business coach, neurodiversity coach, strategist, all-round crazy person, and I'm in the press a lot.
This is true.
That's the best intro.
Victoria Jane, how about you?
Hi, thank you for having me today. I am a disability advocate. I write a lot of stories. I write about positive disability stories out there to make a difference through education, retail, recreation. And I am also a freelance columnist for New Quest Media Group.
Perfect. Thank you both for joining us. I'm really looking forward to hearing more from your perspective. I'm just going to pass over to Jo for the questions.
Thank you. So welcome to our episode on representation in print media. It might get a little heated. We'll see. It did a little bit in our episode on online media. But, that's why we're covering these topics. So, ladies, I'll start with, what's your experience with print media? And how long have you been sort of delving into that world?
So I have been in the press probably for the last 6 years, I think. I have learnt some very, very hard lessons. I've also had quite a few times where I've been in the media where I haven't actually known about it, and that hasn't been the best. I was the person at the beginning of this year who was essentially thrown under the bus by the national press. I ended up on the front page of the Telegraph for being what the media refer to as a sickfluencer. A sickfluencer is essentially somebody who tries to monetize and coerce people into thinking that they are disabled when they are often not, in a bid to defraud the government, essentially. And that's really not what I do. I help people who have genuine disabilities to basically live life loving their brain. So I am most definitely not a sickfluencer. But because of the fact that I help people to apply for access to work, which is a benefit of basically a grant that you can get if you're employed or self-employed, apparently that makes me a criminal. I don't charge people to help them to apply for a benefit that they're entitled to, but it is something that I do support people with. And the press basically just took one of my TikTok videos, branded me a sickfluencer, and threw me out for the world to eat alive, which was, I have to say, one of the most stressful things of my life. When somebody phones you and they say, Maddy, they're talking about you on the radio, and I'm like, what, like disabled people, like ADHDers, people who are autistic? And they're like, no, you specifically. I'm like, okay. So I turn on this radio station, and they're all talking about this article that I've been in the Telegraph and the Daily Mail, referring to me as a sickfluencer. So I phoned them, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to defend my corner here and like give them what's what. And that was quite interesting. So, you know, aside from that thrown under the bus situation, I do write for the Metro every now and again. I'm in lots of different print media all the time for various things, mainly ADHD related or money focused stuff. And my experience apart from that time has been genuinely lovely, but I've learnt some lessons on the way.
See, when you said the term sickfluencer, I didn't like it, and then you explained it, and I liked it even less. And
Yeah.
it's going up there with my current hatred of the genuine disabled.
Yeah. It is the most derogatory and gross term. And now whenever I go in the press, I'm like, if there is a sniff of that word, I'm like, sorry,
No.
but I'm not doing it. I was on LBC again last week, talking about Motability because it's quite a hot topic in the media at the moment. And I was like, if you call me a sickfluencer, I am literally going to hang up. And they didn't call me a sickfluencer. They did call me a disability advocate. But what they did do is they were like, there are sickfluencers out there who are doing this. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. But it's such an infuriating word. I actually got T-shirts made that said, "I'm not a sickfluencer. I'm a disability advocate."
What? Like when people go, "Oh, you're one of the good ones," though.
It's so just degrading to people. It's just derogatory. Like, there's no need for it.
Yeah.
It's like
Horrible terminology, and it's just this phrase that the press seem to have made up. And it's like there are people who genuinely, you know, they profit from people, like they help people to apply for PIP, they help people to apply for access to work and other benefits, and they charge them for that. And I think that is, you know, potentially wrong. But me doing videos that are educational and telling people that, you know, they are entitled to a benefit if they are allowed to have it. And that's not me saying, hey, everybody, go and fuck the system. It's me going, if you have a disability and you are struggling, you are able to apply for this benefit, because there are still people that don't know. And I don't see what is wrong with that. But the press seem to scapegoat me a lot, which is
just being good for free.
yeah.
And it's like, well, it's too much good news, too much positivity. How can we spin it? And this is what annoys me. This is why I don't watch news anymore, read newspapers, because it drives me absolutely fucking mad. So, but it's like they'll just twist things. They'll take something that's really positive and they'll find a way to spin it and make it so negative, so that person is getting all of the hate and stuff like that. And it's like, why can't we just take it for the good it is and just promote the good?
Yes, yeah. I mean, what the press didn't realise was actually it really backfired on them, and all of the people that needed me found me, and I grew my following. I got more press off the back of it. Like, people actually wanted me to tell their stories, and actually, it grew my business. Thank you very much, press.
Even if you are horrible gifts. What about you, Victoria Jen?
So with my writing, I try to do. I only came into it quite recently, so I came about when NewsQuest came about 4 months ago. I started writing for them. I started writing for my own website about 2020, so 5 years ago. Mainly because I was fed up of people not realizing what it was like to be someone with a disability, and people not realizing how difficult things were out there. So, and I thought, how better to voice myself than put it in writing. So that's how I started it. When NewsQuest came along 3 months ago, it was a chance of meeting, and I was supposed to start by doing advice, and they asked me to write an advice for people. It's quickly turned into opinions, and yeah, there's been a few, and it can be quite daunting of how people take that opinion. I have written on the Motability scheme, of the true cost of the Motability scheme. So, and yeah, that got 50,000 clicks in less than 24 hours. and you do think on Facebook, what are these comments coming in? They were mainly positive, I have to say. So, and the few that weren't positive were jumped on very quickly. I have
That's
had
to hear.
Yeah. So I've been quite lucky with what I've written. And I've written on MPs on their vote. And should they be allowed to vote on things they don't understand? That one as well was one that I was quite, when you write these things, again, it's how they're going to be taken. So every time you think, okay, are you going to get backlash? I haven't, again, on that one. So I have been quite lucky on how things have been represented, how I'm representing them. I haven't got that backlash yet from things. I have been really, really surprised. I've had a lot of people emailing me. I didn't realise when I wrote for the newspaper that they were going to put my email address out to everyone. So like 90 publications and my email address going out in every single one. And a lot of people actually emailed in saying, this is my situation, please help me. So it's been very, very positive coming back from it. But when I see things in the newspapers, it does frustrate me. And I wish I could write more and get more into the print. So I wish I could write more, but obviously I am restricted on what they will and won't allow me to write on. So yeah, I do get.
Okay, so the current situation of time of recording, it is currently October. There is a lot out there about the Motability Scheme because they're trying to save money by removing it from various people, mostly with mental health issues, despite the fact it's really good at helping disabled people get into work, which has been their angle now for a few months of, the disabled who are not genuine, or they need help to get into work because work sets you free. I heard that somewhere. I'd imagine by the time of this episode going out, it will be March, we'll still be talking about this because they're continuing to roll out. There are some MPs that are fighting against it because they know actual genuine disabled people. Have you seen, with the rhetoric and the government's basically attack on disabled people, especially now with their attack on Motability and mental health, have you seen a shift in the print media and press about what they're talking about or the way that they're talking about disabled people?
I think there's a lot of online, there's certain publications that don't know if we should name that
We don't care.
I think the Mail online are very good at is this clickbait that I absolutely hate, with headlines that people don't click into, they assume, and I think it really incites people to write things that they know nothing about, and it winds me up. And I don't think so. In that way, I think that no, it's not. But there are some publications that I think are starting to stand up and go, hold on a minute. There are people out there, this is wrong. There's a large, I don't know if people are aware, there's an organisation called the Disabled Journalists Foundation. And we hold a conference once a year. We have been to Sky, we've held it at Sky head office, we've held it at Channel 4, we've held it at big organisations now within the media where we're getting people in as well, where we're talking about disabilities and people with disabilities in media of all ranges. So I think people are now saying, actually, we need more people within media with disabilities to start talking about it. So the more people we get in, I think the more there's going to be a shift. So I think there is starting to be, but I don't think there's a big enough shift at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, my disabilities are pretty much all neurodivergent, and the press seem to absolutely have a field day with neurodivergence because it's like ADHD is a superpower, and like, you know, people don't struggle. It's like you've got a really fun brain. It's so trendy and like super fun to have ADHD. I'm like, try telling that to my suicidal tendencies, you assholes. Like, but it is absolutely like the thing at the moment to throw neurodivergence under the bus for various different things. And like, and also mental health as well. I think mental health has still got a really bad rap.
Yeah, there's still that stigma, and it's not a real disability. You just need to pull yourself together, and I hate that.
Yeah. I mean, so one of my disabilities is PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is possibly the worst mental health condition that in my lifetime that I have experienced. It's not a registered disability. So I talk about that a lot, and actually I've seen some quite positive pieces in the press recently about PMDD, which has been quite reassuring. But I've got a list of things as long as the Magna Carta, possibly longer, and people just don't have the right representation. I think like the journalists that are writing about them are not people who are writing from lived experience, and I think giving people like myself and Victoria Jane like more power and more autonomy to actually write about the things that are really mattering to us, I think is really what the press needs. Is that it needs to have that shift, because, you know, Joe Bloggs, your average middle class non-disabled white man, like, you know, he's not gonna know what it's like to live with these disabilities. And they can listen to you when they're interviewing you, of course, but it's then how they go and portray it. And I think that's one of the dangers of print media, is that, you know, often when you are interviewed as a disabled person, they interview you and they put their own narrative around your words. And that's kind of what's happened to me a few times, where it's like,
It's like they're going in, they know what they want it to say, and therefore they're going to twist what you're saying to say it.
yeah. It's like this was a radio interview, but they were like, "Oh, we want to do a positive piece around ADHD and how you can get support in if you run a business." And I'm like, "Oh, great, fantastic! I actually get to talk about like how access to work is like so beneficial for people." And I was grilled to within an inch of my life. And I wasn't prepared for it, because I'd asked what the angle was. They had told me it was a positive piece, and it was most definitely not a positive piece. And it's a good job that I'm somebody who has been in radio for quite a long time and I can think on my feet. And I still managed to answer all of his questions in a way that made him look like an absolute idiot. But if I was somebody who wasn't as confident, like, that would have been a really embarrassing interview for me and possibly the end of my career. It's about the representation and also like how people are spinning things at the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of punching down as well. And I think that's been a thing for a while, like the number of times I've seen, well, don't have kids if you can't pay for them. Why are taxpayers paying to feed children? And I'm like, I think taxpayer money going to feed children is a good use of money, actually. You know, why are we debating feeding children? This is ridiculous, but that
It's
nastiness.
also the same people who complain that people aren't having kids.
Yeah.
Win, can we? It's like we absolutely can't. There is no, like, you know, the government want disabled people to get into the workplace, but yet they're taking away all of the things that help us to get into the workplace, like access to work and mobility. It's like we don't stand a chance with this current government.
With not enough jobs for everybody who's already on the list. And of course, no, with employers that also don't want to employ the disabled because they have to make accommodations.
One of my disabled friends went for an interview today, and they asked, she's got cerebral palsy, and they asked her, they were like, "Oh, I think that's quite weird, because most people with cerebral palsy don't, you know, they have speech impediments." I'm like, what? Like, Jesus Christ! Like,
At the end of this season, we are myth busting on cerebral palsy, so don't miss that episode.
yeah. you need to get my friend on. She's amazing. But like, honestly, the amount of interviews she's been for, and people are like, "Oh, sorry, your mobility aid is like, it's going to get in the way of like, you know, it's a health and safety hazard and stuff like that." It's like, it makes me so ragey, like literally the most ragey person.
Well, I think we need to tone down the raginess a little bit. So let's take a brief break for a spoonful of loveliness. So here's some wonderful things for our sponsors and a chance for us to all have a nice deep breath. Off we go.
Feeling stuck? You're not alone. Men Forge Forward is an online community where professional men under pressure reclaim their edge through brotherhood and real accountability. Guided by Sean Hegarty, a former paramedic turned men's well-being strategist, you'll join over 60 men who've learned to handle stress, rebuild confidence and demand more from life without burning it all down. Start with the free 30-day Fire Up Challenge and discover what's possible. Join for free today at menforgeforward.com. That's menforgeforward.com. Your fellow Forge men are waiting. If you're a neurodivergent entrepreneur who's exhausted by hustle culture, I want you to know there is another way. The Anti-Hustle Hub is a supportive online community for neurodivergent business owners who want to work with their brains, not against them. Inside the hub, we have regular body doubling sessions to help you get things done, gentle group coaching to untangle the overwhelm, and a community of people who genuinely get it. No pressure, no pretending, no toxic productivity. You don't need to push harder, you need the right support. Come and join us inside the Anti-Hustle Hub and build your business in a way that actually feels sustainable.
So welcome back to our episode on representation in print media. And as I expected, yes, it's a little bit ragey, but I also think it's an important topic to talk about. So previous to this government deciding they hate all disabled people and poor people, it still wasn't great in the print media. I mean, the last, 14 years of Tories didn't like disabled either. That's why we've got PIP and why it's so hard to get. We are going to do an episode on PIP, but currently me and Karen are going through the process, so we wanted to go through the whole thing and then we'll come talk to you about it. And Claire's had a great time, so we will be doing an episode on that. But do you remember a time in print media when there was actually really positive stories about the disabled that wasn't inspiration porn? Because I hate that as well. Their faces come in.
Like, no, I actually don't. I mean, it might well be that there might have been. I think probably like the 80s. I think it was very, very positive. Like, you know, it was kind of around the time when like the Paralympics was just kind of like becoming a thing. And it's like, oh, being disabled, like it's so positive and it's nice. Like, you know, there was some nice stuff in the 80s. And I have to say, like, I've only been diagnosed with my neurodivergence in the last 4 years. And it took me a long time to actually say to myself, I am disabled. There was a lot of internalized ableism going on in my brain. I'm like, I'm not disabled. I'm totally fine. I'm like totally brilliant and I can do everything. And like, no, I'm totally broken. And that was when I wrote my book, because I wanted there to be something that was like really real and really kind of helped people to understand that they weren't broken, but they had a different operating system. And I think there's not enough out there that supports that narrative. It's like it's either one or the other when it comes to neurodivergence. It's like, oh, ADHD's made up, or ADHD's a superpower, or like if you've got ADHD you're going to die. And it's like there's nothing that's like, actually, if you learn to understand your brain, you can function better and you can function in a, you know, in inverted commas kind of normal way. But it's just about learning to understand yourself, and actually that's really important. And that narrative I don't think has ever been in the press.
It's very much, we'll just stuff this square peg into this round hole, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Victoria Jane, you started writing because you wanted to bring that more positive spin. Was that because you didn't see any in the media?
Yeah, there wasn't anything out there. I wanted to draw attention to things that wasn't happening by showing the positives of people that were doing things right. So I got into it because I was doing a law degree and was looking to become a barrister at the time of all things. Went to look at law chambers and barrister chambers, couldn't get into them because they're listed buildings. So I started writing for my law society about how things weren't accessible. So, and how people were doing it right. And I grew the readership of the Law Society by showing other students, actually, this is what is accessible. This is how you can be a successful law student whilst having a disability. And people loved it. And actually, my passion for writing overtook my passion for the law. So I then, I carried on my law degree, got my law degree, and then started doing a diploma in journalism. And I found actually people listened to me a lot more, and I thought using my voice, I could shout about actually this is the positivities that are out there. And if I can show what people are doing right, maybe they can lead by example. So, yeah, I don't know if it will ever take off to that extent, because I think the media thrive on those stories that are negative, because that's what gets people talking. Positive stories, as they say, don't always sell. I think they do. That is, but a lot of the time, I think they use those negative. Sorry, they use those negatives to get that attention into the papers. So I would like to see that.
Journalists have just forgotten how to write a truly positive story without it just sounding chintzy.
Yeah, yeah.
They've just forgotten how to write in a good way at all.
Well,
Yeah.
there is that.
Well, I think social media has a lot to answer for, because you'll see the same stories again and again and again, because they'll get comments, and the comments will always be the same, and the ones that you see come up time and time again, and someone thinks they're so original for saying it, and it's like, gosh, yeah. So
People rage hate on a post, and it's like, if the post offends you that much, just scroll by and leave it the fuck alone. Like, why do we have to make it such a big thing? And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with what you're both doing, advocating for people with disabilities. I've seen quite a few on Facebook. I don't know what press companies are sharing them, but it was the different stories about people on benefits. And they're trying to take it away from little things like, oh, they're on benefits, they're claiming this much a year, but they're going and doing this. And it's like trying to shame them for having that benefit.
Yeah.
It's from people underneath it. And I'm like, you don't even know what they're going through.
also the blatantly AI made up ones, like this one I've seen, I think it's called something like Black Country News, and it's clear they're
Yes.
just making stuff up. And it's the sort of level of veracity you'd expect from like The Onion or the South End News Network or something, but it's not a parody, it's just nasty. And they exist by going, oh, well, there's this person who lives in Birmingham and they get benefits, and they get lots of benefits. And it's like, oh, well, I've been to work every day of my life, and and that's the reaction they want. And, people are monetized and basically rewarded for being awful. I think it's so unhelpful, because that is a lot of people's entire interaction with what's going on in the world is through those social media platforms. And if you're not savvy enough to realise that people are doing it deliberately for a reaction, then it just massively shapes the way you look at the world.
Yeah, one of the comments I've seen a lot those last few months is the one that I thought we'd got over, which was, we all know somebody who's scamming the system. It's like, you don't, because we all know invisible disabilities exist. And just because people are not telling you their life story of why they get benefits when you pass them in the street does not mean they're faking it.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, like, literally none of my disabilities are visible to the naked eye. yet again, you know, Magna Carta, it's pretty long, and like people just, they don't bother to ask. You know, I mean, I'm somebody who, you know, I don't have a blue badge, like I don't, but it doesn't mean that if I didn't have one, I couldn't, you know, I don't struggle to get to the shops. You know, there are, like, I'm just actually really, really lucky that I've got such an important support system, and my husband actually recognizes that as a incredibly overwhelmed neurodivergent person who has got eroding hips, that actually going to the supermarket for me is incredibly painful, incredibly stressful, and causes me emotional trauma. So he does all the food shopping. But if he didn't, and I needed a blue badge, those would be the reasons why. Like, you know, I can't walk very far at all, you know, like my if one of my hips locks, I'm like in agony for absolute days, and that does happen quite a lot. So it does affect the way that I think also disabled people feel about themselves. It's like we start to have that internalized ableism because we're it's so projected on us from other people. It's like, you know, should I walk with a walking stick? I go to events and I'm like, do I take my walking stick? Like, or are people going to judge me and think that I'm faking, or I'm just using it so that I can get like a better seat or something? But it's like, actually, sometimes I need that to help myself stand up, you know?
I will say the last year's SBS event, so many walking sticks and disability aids. Absolutely amazing.
They were really cool, weren't they? I was like,
Yeah.
no, that was what made me think, actually, I should stop being afraid and just do it.
It really put me at ease because it was the first time out at an event with crutches. And that was lovely to see that they felt able to go, no, I need this to do this.
Yeah. It's really, really hard. And with the press's narrative, I think it actually shames people into not thinking that they are entitled to the help that they need a lot of the time.
It's probably a stressful process to get that help anyway.
Right.
And there's many people that can't do it. But then if you've got that shame on top of it, people are not going to try. And they're not going to get the help they need. And they will become what such people think they should be, in home, shutting, without anything at all, no support, no fun. Because obviously you're not allowed to do anything fun. I mean, we're not even allowed TV, according to some people, because it's taxpayers' money, despite the fact we're all taxpayers.
So that's the narrative. The narrative that I really, really, really hate is that all disabled people are government scroungers. None of them work. Like, I work really fucking hard in my business, and, you know, I pay way more tax than I would like to. You know, it's actually painful how much tax I pay, but nobody sees that.
Well, also, if Vodafone paid their corporation tax, it could pay for every student in the country to have a free degree. So, you know, maybe the person getting 50 quid a week isn't the one you should be angry with.
Narrative out there, and it's like everyone hates on anyone that's kind of got a disability or neurodivergent. And it's all coming from people that have these big fat bonuses that they don't necessarily need. And, you know, I don't believe that any person in this world deserves or needs to have billions of dollars. There should be like a cap on even though to footballers, and I'm going down that path now, they earn way too much fucking money. You know, it's bank managers, massive bonuses, MPs, massive bonuses, second house, expense form claims and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, if you actually lived within your means and that money was distributed back within the country, we wouldn't be in such a shit place that we are.
Totally agree.
Sorry, that was my little rant.
The way to help the country is not to villainise the poor and disabled, because we're all just trying to get by on probably a lot less money than they think we are.
Yeah.
But through the media's eyes and the government's eyes, they are the easy target.
Mm.
They're the vulnerable ones at the bottom.
We're the ones that are less likely to fight back because we haven't got the power, we haven't got the energy, we haven't got the capability. Exactly. A lot of disabled people will struggle to advocate for themselves. And that's the problem. Like, we know that MPs are probably trained to advocate for themselves, so they can do it. But like, we're not. And we should, in fact, we should do more of this. How to advocate for yourself. Like,
This is something new we're starting now, how to advocate
yeah.
more for each other.
It's why the print should really be on our side, because we had print on our side to be our voice.
People are writing articles about people on whether they're on benefits, so they've got a disability, they're neurodivergent. It should be people that have experienced that life and have that learned or lived knowledge that should be writing about it. If you don't know it, if you haven't lived it and you don't know it, you've got no right to sit there and write about it and give your opinion.
No, not at all.
Do you have questions or are you having a good rant?
I'm enjoying the good rant, to be fair.
Yeah, we should advocate for ourselves more, and especially in print, because that's not immediate in your face. It's something that people can take time over. People can consider their words a lot more than sort of TV and radio. So it should be like disabled and neurodivergent voices that are out there. But as we all know, that a lot of the press is owned by big corporations, and that might not make the money. I think it probably would, though, because again, you're still going to get that diverse opinion of people in the comments. But to some people, you'll get through to see that what they're being fed basically is wrong, or they'll just decide you're a scrounger and lying. But still, that's going to cause discourse. So the fact that they don't take that path, a lot of them at all, I think they're missing out, especially, and doing a disservice to the disabled people.
Absolutely.
Well, just like with my article about Motability and the true cost of a Motability car, I got 50,000 clicks on it in 24 hours, and I didn't get hardly any negative comments back. That just goes to show of how actually people viewed it in a positive, and that did work. It obviously did resonate with people, and it shows that positive, even though it was showing the negatives of how much it costs, I was actually trying to highlight things. It shows that people do read these things, and by shining these things out there, then they do get read. So just by not being totally negative and say to people, hey, this is out there, this is what's happening from a disabled person's point of view, it is going to get read.
As people, we need to push for more of that kind of thing. It's like, please represent us properly.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say maybe in the way we react to things, like I probably am more likely to respond to something I disagree with than something I agree with. And maybe we need to be a bit better about supporting things and saying, do you know what, actually, this is a great point. Thank you. You taught me something I didn't know before. And sometimes I can feel reluctant to do it because I don't feel like I'm sucking up, but actually it's just balance.
Yeah. I think a lot of disabled people are scared of putting their opinions out there because of the trolls. Like, there are lots and lots and lots of trolls. Like, I learned very, very early on in my media sort of, I would say it's not really a career because it's not really where my career is, but like, you know, my years of being in the press, I've learned to like just not read the comments, because if I do, it makes me angry and then I get all keyboard warrior back, and it's like just protect your energy. Like, if you are going to be a disabled person in the media, and I really recommend people should be, because it's your voice. You have a voice, and if we all go and start speaking up, then it strengthens numbers. But it can be really scary, and especially from, a visibility strategy kind of perspective, like protect your energy, protect the things, have a support system in place, that kind of thing. Like, make sure that you are not actively going and seeking out the comments, because they're the ones that, people are always going to disagree with you, and and you'll end up having a really low self-esteem if you go and look at them.
If you want someone to check the comments for you, I'm happy to do it. 'Cause apparently me reading comments that make me angry is what I do for entertainment.
Next time I'm in the press, I will send them your way, Jane.
His inbox is getting busy because I've been following Maddy on social media for quite a while now. Yeah, you're in the press a lot.
I am. Like, it's nice. It is really good, because I think like people know now that I am a disability advocate, and that they can call on me, and I will say what I mean. Like, I don't hold back. And if I've got opinions, I'm like, hey, this is me, this is my opinion. And if people don't like me, I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I get is, look at her, she's so woke, look at her hair. I'm like,
Yeah, of course, woke is evil as well, which it really isn't, but
I mean, like, because only people who are disabled have coloured hair. Apparently, that's one of the comments I got the other day. I was like, okay, so weird.
come to anything, I think. Karen, I am going to pass back to you to wrap us up.
Yes. Well, thank you both of you for being here. Is there anything you'd like to plug or let us know about? We'll go Maddy, then Victoria Jane again.
Hey, so I have a free community. It's called the Maddyverse. It is a community that supports people with money, life, and business when they have invisible conditions, disabilities, or struggles. You can find it in my bio. Also, as well, I've got my book, Mad About Money. If you're neurodivergent and you struggle with money stuff, go check it out. Thank you.
So I have a website called Legally Powered. On there you can find all my latest articles from NewsQuest, so any opinion pieces I've written, any advice. Also on there, anything that I've written for my own website. I've also got some YouTube channels that I've done, so some hotel reviews. Please forgive me, I am very new to it, so they are not brilliant, but they are just show you around some of the hotels that I've visited. And yeah, just have a look around about what I've written.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, both of you. And thank you to you for joining us for 3 Spoonies on representation in print media. We'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for our weekly podcast and leave us a lovely review. You can also buy us a coffee if you like what we do. As ever, all of those links that have been mentioned will be in the show notes, so you can give them a lovely click. We'll see you next week for our community questions. Have a great day and keep track of your spoons.